I can't believe this. I used to say it's the little things you ignore that fuck you over, and I just cut that and blew through that just to hear this thing bubbling. Now I don't know if it's that one, but I'd almost guarantee it was, because there's no way that there would be bubbling if I wasn't blowing through this. So somewhere this bastard's got a kink or something, and it's still blocked. So, oh well, have a go at blowing the other one. Yeah, I just blew that and I can hear it bubbling. You guys probably won't. It's pretty easy to blow it. So, I've cut the one that was kinked, that was letting through water, and the one that's not kinked, like that didn't have the deformed part, is somehow blocked altogether. Fucking work that shit out. Oh, I tell you what, not exactly having a fantastic day. It looks like the rain's about slammed shit out of us, which is why I was just hoping to go bang bang, reconnect, and let it all rain hell. Anyway, I may have done it a favour if I couldn't blow up this same one, but I'm not sure, as I said, if this one's the right one. I don't believe it. I do not bloody believe it. That is the right one. That's the one. I was going to mark what one was what on that T-piece. I remembered what it was at the time and then didn't write it down. But as you can see from the water just blasting up here, see there's a... That was me just blowing that. So, I got the wrong water line, which was this one, couldn't blow through it at all, and then, lo and behold, it has water coming out this end, and out this end, and as you guys saw, when I flicked open the big 3/4 inch connection under there, water started flowing out. So it's blocked and I can't blow through the thing properly, but it was still letting water through at a pretty slow rate, obviously, which is obviously what it's going to be like. Makes me wonder if it's not just plain line resistance. And, you know, see, with this off, if there's any air stuck in this line, which is the one that I'm having the trouble with, it should, by rights, blast all the air out of here, because it's now an open connection. This just goes from dumb to dumber, I tell you what. I should have done the whole fucking lot in 3/4 inch. At least it would have been not as much bullshit, and I've already half pulled this out of drain, so I'm going to have to rebury that. Well, you ain't going to believe this shit, but the longer line is actually pretty good, and as you can see, I just blew a shitload of fucking water out of it. It's, oh, fuck. You know, I was talking about line restriction before and said if you got 80 metres of garden hose, it's going to be pretty hard to blow through the line. Well, I wasn't fucking joking. Fuck me. That's about 25 metres. That's a bloody effort. I don't think a smoker could do it, to be honest. If you had too many cigarettes, you wouldn't be able to fucking blow that 25 metres, half inch. That's it turned on there. That's it flowing. So I actually turned it on and come running back around here. And somehow, even though it's bloody difficult to blow through this 25 metres, now I've got a decent flow. As I say, probably just airlock or something like that, you know? Anyway, I'll turn it off. But I probably got all the airlocks out of the system just by blowing it or something. I mean, it's definitely going. It's going fine. But anyway, I better turn it off so I don't waste the water in my little tank there. Alrighty. I hope I got the clamp on the right side there. There's me burr, or tail, or whatever the hell you want to call it. Your little lump. You guys know what I mean, the triangular lump, and I have my connector after that. I haven't got that one on the right side just yet. Trying to hurry a little bit because I think it's going to rain soon. But these are very simple, these ones here. I'll show you. Yeah, well, first of all, you go and get mouldy grips, not pliers, and you basically just go and squeeze the bastard together, and it's like a zip tie. It clicks away on all the little hooks in there, and tightens up, and they are so shockingly fast. There's another one too that we used to use at Chinese Boss's Vineyard, and I sort of had a whole heap of connectors once, and stupid bloody contracted pruners come in and went berserk and cut the vines and didn't cut low enough to stop the buds from, long story short, your main cane, you have little ones coming up, you're supposed to cut them a certain length, and the other ones you cut right hard to the cane. They didn't do that. They left it with the first bud there. So it was going to end up a mess when it come to pruning time again, or even harvesting time. And somehow, I'm fucked if I know how, they ended up hitting the damn water line 5 or 6 times while they're pruning. And sure, this is a so-called French vineyard that the French guys working there had never seen before. That's only about half a metre off the ground, you know, about 1 2/3 of a foot, I think, off the ground. And somehow they slammed a lot of water lines. Anyway, they were using 16mm water lines with, I think it was about 3/4 inch risers coming up every 100 metres or something like that. And anyway, maybe every 50 metres. Anyway, they have these other ones that are stainless steel, and you've got this bizarre miniature set of pliers. It's a specialised set, and you just sort of grab hold of it, and it's like a bit of sheet metal, but it's sort of like a stainless steel piece, and it's got like a little dimple in it, and you've got to pull one dimple towards the other dimple, and there's another little piece that's like that that hooks into the dimple on your right hand side, and as it's coming from the left hand side, or as you're closing it in together. And they work sort of shockingly well until you bend the thing a little bit, and then they're stuffed. You got to throw them out, but they're cheap as dirt. I ended up with about 20 something of them in my coat pocket, forgot all about it until I left there, and then found them all in there. And well, I have a whole stack of those 16mm connectors, and no real tool to do it. If you're a real smart cookie, you can stuff around with pliers, but you're more likely than not to have a lot of issues, or bend it with the pliers and just destroy it altogether. But anyway, that's another kind of quick, fast fitting. But where my father was before he retired, they used to use those normal little plastic ones that I've got there. When I find the frickin' mouldy grips, which shouldn't be too far, I'll do them up. Well, I have wet the bed. Now, I went down and got the offcut of that line there, and it was pissing water out the other end. Come back here, and about 20 litres out of that 60 litre tank is emptied out. So that was all of it going down there, just filling in the line. I was actually shocked. Yeah, I thought it would have taken hundreds of litres but once you, like that concrete bit out there, next to the wheelbarrow there, that's the old bit with the pig troughs on it. When you look closely, it's actually on a downhill slant from there on, which may be why I don't have to fill the line so much. Anyway, I'll have to put my finger over the mic in a second. Let's see. Yeah, these are shit. Just like I was saying how I like screws instead of nails, well, I like real hose clamps. And I used all 4 of those hose clamps I had. Those are barely the right size, and those are so big it's sort of almost too big. They're 11mm, it's 13mm line. I assume that means the inside, so 11 to 20mm, that's fine. those are just hanging on by the last 2 threads or so. I hate it when I do this, you sort of pull it up and then sort of halfway out, so you've got to dig into there to drop it back in. Yeah, yeah, I'll put my finger over the mic and explain the next piece. This bullshit here. She's not too bad. These, that's obviously garden hose fitting. That's got an O-ring inside, as does this nut and tail. If that's a real pain in the arse, I'm pretty certain I've got another nut and tail connector. It's one of these strange ones with the little lugs to sort of almost centre itself, but that's got an O-ring. That's just slowly leaking out the odd drip. This one was leaking out a few more drips, and I realised it wasn't tightened up enough. In wrestling all this, trying to line it all up, it sort of undone it off the thread. So I re-tightened it, and it's rather tight now, but if you go any tighter, it goes clunk and jumps around on the thread. It should be alright, because as I said, rubber O-ring sitting in there, another one sitting in there. It's not really alright. Not 100%, it's just got the odd drip on this one, and the odd couple of drips on that one. This one's dripping about twice the speed that one is, but it's only a very small drip, but I've basically turned off the little 60-litre tank that I've been playing around with this morning, and I'm going to have to go and put more tape in there, and that's got barely any, and I'll pack those in with tape. It might be a bit better. You might say, why don't you just get your 3/4 inch connection to 3/4 inch connection and just hose clamp it all together? It's because I want to disconnect it because we're on the driveway, and at some point when I need to get down the driveway, I'm going to need to disconnect these, which might not be too far away, where I've got to go. And, there's a trailer sitting out there. I've got to go and get the trailer, so I'm going to have to come down this driveway. So I wanted this option of just a normal hose fitting to come off. To be honest, I did see the cam lock fittings that are the proper quick connector fittings, and I'm pretty certain that they've got ones that are 1 inch in size. I've seen those 1 inch ones, and I reckon if I had looked harder, I would have found a 3/4 inch one, or I could have just got a 1 inch one with a thread and then threaded on a 3/4 inch barb. And but this is all in the stash and the bits and pieces I got off my brother-in-law and blah blah blah, and a few other clamps I had, and yeah, so I was trying to make a go of using just this. And really speaking, I've got another blooming few rolls of the tape, so I'll just go and get that tape and whack it on, and hopefully seal it up a little bit better. Surprising that it was putting so much down this pipe, even though it sort of leaked a fair friggin' amount. But anyway, I'll do that, and I'm currently filling up that 60-litre tank. There's the excess 3/4 inch. Yeah. So I might go and do that, and then I'll try and rebury these lines, and all going well, I'll be pretty much finished, and then I can actually start packing all this shit up. Well, the tape worked well. Worked quite good. Only trouble is the actual hose connector itself is leaking. When you hold it up, it seems to leak pretty bad. I don't know if when I sit it down it nuzzles into position, but you can't expect much from shit you found on the side of the road. Long story short, before too long I'm probably going to have to go and get some of those proper cam connectors that I was saying about, fuck garden hose and all this, yeah. These things, they call them cam locks, and it's like you sit the two in together, and you got these two little tags off either side, like these two little, not tags, they're like flat steel things, and they're thick enough too, they're sort of, well, they're more than 1/8 of an inch thick, and then you push those down, and as you push those down, that's the final tightening lock. They're sort of hanging out 90 degrees, and then you push them back with the parallel with the pipe, and that'll sort of lock in fully, and you can see this giant rubber O-ring they got in them. We used to use them at the nursery. Guys who pump water out of water trucks around here use the giant big bloody like 4-inch ones. Oh, they might even be 6-inch ones. They're fucking huge, some of the ones I've seen around here. As I said, I've seen the 1-inch ones the other day when I was going through trying to get all the fittings for this. This isn't a great deal. You know, the amount of water that I know for a fact, judging by the end of that thing, is flowing through this versus what's coming out. I might be losing 5%. But it's 5% I'd prefer not to lose over buying another 2 fittings. So that may be happening before too long. This is what you sometimes get when you have a juggernaut of different fittings. You know, you've got enough different strange bits going from one spot to the next. I'm hearing something. I'll be stuffed. It's blowing air bubbles back out of this line. The way that T-piece is, it's a pain in the fucking ass, to be quite honest. It goes 2 half-inch bits and then a 3/4-inch line. When you look down the hole of the 3/4-inch line on this fitting, they have a tiny little hole at the end that is only as big as a half-inch hose inside the 3/4-inch end, and then it's like a T-piece. Your 2 half-inch pieces are at the top part of the T, and then the bottom shaft is your 3/4-inch. That only has a half-inch piece connecting back to the 2 T's. So instead of having a full half-inch hole that goes right through to the 2 half-inch connectors, it then expects those 2 half-inch connectors to drop back to half an inch in size in total, and then go to 3/4-inch, which is exactly what I was trying to bloody well avoid, purely because, well, you know, I would like 2 half-inch pieces to go into a 3/4-inch bit, not 2 half-inch pieces to go back to a half-inch piece and then open to a giant 3/4-inch fitting that is only fed by a half-inch hole. Stupid. Typical frickin' dumbasses. But anyways, this seems to be pushing air out of the line between this one and the T-piece, with a bit of the water from the other one feeding back through into this. But seriously, it's only like, oh hell, it's probably only about a 1/4 inch above that fitting, if that. Not really doing much. But anyway, if I ever find a nice Y-piece connector, they had these ones on the evaporative cooling systems at the piggery, and instead of being like a T-piece, they're like a Y-piece to allow you to get better flow, as opposed to ramming that little 60-litre tank to that 40-litre tank and filling both their lines up because they're perfectly in line with each other, and having a higher restriction to go down to a 3/4-inch. I think it was actually made for a 3/4-inch line to feed water from the 3/4-inch into the 2 half-inch lines, and be sort of restrictive enough not to blow hoses on the half-inch end. But I'm trying to get the 2 half-inches to go into 3/4 inches. It's sort of made that way. Anyway, all of this doesn't really matter terribly, because it's all gravity feed and I've got all bloody day, and just so long as there's not so much water that it'll overflow this one or overflow the other one before it gets a chance to empty them out, then it's not going to be a problem. And the reality is it probably will overflow this at some point in the winter, in which case it just makes all this wet, which was getting wet before I had a gutter anyway. But anyway, I think it's about time to move all those, put all those hoses back, and then bury all this crap again. I've still got to do my little mesh gate. Alrighty. Oh, I know you can't see me worth a shit. It's about 6:15. I've sort of worked out what speed I can run the tank at, how far I can turn the tap on. It's a ball valve, so you sort of, you got like a 90-degree sway of turn from stop to full speed, and I can probably nearly run at about 70-degree angle, easy run at 45-degree angle. There's a certain speed where you just start to fill the little tank up a bit too much, like as in it's gaining on it, and then you can cut it back so it's sort of, it outruns how much you're filling it and it starts going down. But anyway, I've currently got it running really slow, so it's, well, not super slow, but it's gaining on it. It's quite surprising. I've just been down the hill, cats followed me down, and like they did last time, they're probably going to stay down there looking for mice, even though it's rather cold because of all this wind and the soil's wet and everything. But yeah, we've got like 100 litres in the damn IBC already, which is like, I don't know, 22, 23 gallon already. So that's surprising. I think everything that gets through that T-piece fitting from the 2 half-inch lines into the 3/4 inch line, I think everything that gets through that is coming out at full speed at the other end, which is good. Very good. It's like a, you could fill a coffee mug in 4 seconds. That's the speed it's going. So it's not too bad at all. So, yeah, I'm seriously looking at my remaining amounts of 3/4 inch line. Not only do I have the black stuff that I've had a couple of metres on the end there, I've also got a bit of that garden hose that I got off the side of the road. I've also, I think in this batch I got 2 3/4 inch hose clamps. Yes, I did. Yes, I can remember buying them when I get all the other bits and pieces I showed you in the bag. And I've got the 3/4 to 3/4 connector, like I showed you guys. I may use that remaining 3/4 inch line, plus a bunch of bits of wire to not necessarily hook the one on my bedroom there with the grey wall and all that, the plastic wall. Not necessarily hook that into the water tank, but just run it into a box like I was saying, and then instead of using the garden hose, use a 3/4 inch line, not to the water tank, the steel water tank, but to that little plastic one, and run it like that, and that may be one way. It may be a stupid idea. I might outgun everything like that. Having said that, I would definitely have no problems with fall, because there's, only about bloody 4 foot fall. So you're not going to have any problem with 4 foot fall over about 6 or 7 yards, as you could well imagine. But yeah, that's sort of something to think about. I did manage to get a 3-inch thingo on there today, pipe, but just stuck it on there to see if I could get it on there, and it's holding it so tightly that I've actually just left it sitting on there. I don't think it's going to fall off. But anyway, that's something we've got to work out for another day. As for the, what's his name, that garden hose connector that was leaking, I put the Teflon tape on and all that. Yeah, good. And then I picked it up and plugged it all back in, and it's leaking out the actual hose fitting, like the actual garden hose connector fitting. And I realised something rather interesting. I was talking about all the cam locks and all that, cam locks and all that. And strange thing is, when I lay it on the ground on the driveway and it's perfectly flat again, and I don't have any weight on it because I'm not lifting it up 2 or 3 foot off the ground, and it's not kinked as a result of me lifting it up 2 or 3 foot off the ground while the rest of the line is laying on the ground still, all of a sudden when it goes flat again it stops leaking. Yeah, one of those sort of fittings where it works just so long as it's on a nice flat surface and there's no weight on either side and no kinking. And so basically I don't think it's a problem, and I've gone, you know, and I've left this thing running for friggin' more than 20 minutes, had a look at the ground, and the ground's all started to dry up again. I mean, it's still a little bit damp, you know, being a cold climate, but I can't see any water continuing to flow out of that area. And because of the soil, it's not just sinking straight into the soil because it's not just sand. So that's, for all intents and purposes, as far as I'm concerned, it's rough enough and good enough. The reality is I'm probably going to take off so much water off this roof that I'm probably going to disconnect that because the IBCs are going to be full, or failing that I'll just be taking it out of the IBC down there and letting it piss over the side of the hill somewhere into the grass, whatever. So, you know, as a result, even if it was leaking 5%, which it no longer is, I don't think it's going to be that big of an issue because I think I'm going to have more water than I can store in those IBCs regardless, you know. So there's no guarantee this is going to be a big blast of a year, but there tends to be a bit of a tendency when the previous winter's shit, the next winter is far better than average. And we may be in for 1 3/4 the amount of normal water that we have, or maybe double. Or if we're really lucky, we could be in for one of those real shit storms of a year that we get every 10 years where the river floods and the bridges are all frickin' closed and all that sort of shenanigans, which is what I experienced as a kid. And then again in, what was it, 2005, I think? Yeah, one happened in about 95, 96, and then again in about 2005 or 2003 or sometime around then anyway. So anyways, I may, I've just put a bit of mesh and stuff up. It's a bit of a shitstorm. A couple of star pickets and a bunch of string and a bit of leftover fencing from doing the veggie patch. Just a few foot of that on the opposite side, and a ladder jammed in the way. So that should be alright for tonight. I'll try and wire it up a bit more properly tomorrow. I seem to have sort of run out of tie wire around here. I know my father's got a massive heap of it over there from a electric fence that my uncle went over with a bloody slasher once upon a time. So we've been using that tie wire for absolutely years now. So anyway, it was an entire coil of electric fence laying in the grass, and he drove over with a slasher and got caught up in there. And yeah, we got some of that, and then it turns out there was also some of it under the flail mower that's out here. So I don't know if that was the same incident or what. But anyway, yeah, I might show you a bit more of it all tomorrow.